In the serene streets of a picturesque town, admiration flowed freely for Dee Dee Blanchard, a mother hailed as the epitome of selflessness. Her daughter, Gypsy Rose, was the centerpiece of this admiration, a delicate flower seemingly held in the tender embrace of a mother's devoted care. Neighbors marveled at Dee Dee's tireless dedication, her meticulous attention to Gypsy Rose's every need. From doctor's appointments to specialized treatments, Dee Dee's unwavering commitment painted a portrait of maternal devotion that garnered the admiration of all who knew her. Yet behind the facade of a doting mother, a chilling truth lurked in the shadows, concealed from the prying eyes of the world. For Dee Dee Blanchard was not merely a caregiver, she was a puppeteer, orchestrating a web of deception that ensnared even her own daughter. Welcome to Crime Scene Archives, where truth is often stranger than fiction. Today we unravel the tangled web of deception and manipulation that culminated in a chilling act of murder. This is the story of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, a tale that defies comprehension and challenges our understanding of the human psyche. So, if you dare to explore the murky waters of crime and deceit, smash that subscribe button and join us for more stories like this from Crime Scene Archives. Warning: this video contains graphic content related to crime scenes. It is intended for educational purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. June 10, 2015, Springfield, Missouri. A mother's life is tragically cut short, her body discovered, the scene stained with brutality. In the wake of this chilling discovery, a question echoed through the community's grief-stricken whispers. Why? Why would someone murder such a beloved figure, a beacon of care and compassion? Tears flowed freely as the news spread, disbelief mingling with sorrow. How could anyone harm Danny, as she was fondly known? Yet amidst the anguish, a revelation emerged, inspired by the innocence of a Disney movie, Tangled. Little did they know, the cinematic inspiration would unravel the tangled threads of a twisted reality. For Gypsy Rose Blanchard, life was a fragile balance of deception and captivity. Raised under the guise of chronic illness, her world revolved around a carefully crafted narrative spun by her own mother, Dee Dee Blanchard. Disney's Tangled became both a solace and a catalyst, igniting within Gypsy a fervent desire for freedom. As Gypsy's story captured national attention, a spotlight illuminated the shadows of a family torn apart by deception and betrayal. Christy Blanchard, Gypsy's stepmother, and Mia found themselves thrust into a surreal nightmare, haunted by the echoes of a tragedy unlike any other. Gypsy's journey began in Louisiana, a seemingly idyllic start overshadowed by the turmoil within her family. Despite her clear bill of health, Gypsy's life was overshadowed by her mother's relentless manipulation, using her daughter as a pawn in a game of control and deceit. From the ashes of a broken marriage, Dee Dee fashioned a narrative of illness and dependency, a web of lies that ensnared not only Gypsy, but all who crossed their path. Doctors' visits became routine, each one cementing Dee Dee's hold over her daughter and the community's sympathy. Behind Dee Dee's facade of maternal devotion lay a hunger for attention and control, a thirst for the spotlight that blinded her to the consequences of her actions. With each passing year, the facade crumbled, revealing the chilling truth lurking behind the surface. As Gypsy's illness progressed, so too did Dee Dee's manipulation, her grip tightening with each new symptom fabricated. Yet amidst the chaos, a glimmer of hope emerged, a hope for a life beyond the confines of her mother's life. As the story of Gypsy Rose Blanchard unfolded, it became clear that happy endings were not reserved for fairy tales alone. In the harsh light of reality, the true extent of a mother's love was laid bare, a love twisted into something dark and dangerous, a love that ultimately led to tragedy. It all began with a continuous positive airway pressure CPAP machine, as Gypsy Rose Blanchard's purported breathing problems became the focal point of her mother's concerns. Seizures followed suit, each episode reinforcing Dee Dee's narrative of her daughter's deteriorating health. Yet the truth remained shrouded in the shadows, for these seizures could only be diagnosed during their occurrence, leaving doctors reliant on Dee Dee's accounts. According to Dee Dee, Gypsy's health issues extended to her eyes and ears, necessitating a hearing aid and attention to dental care. But it was after a motorcycle accident with her grandfather Claude that Dee Dee's manipulation took a sinister turn. Despite only sustaining minor injuries, Dee Dee seized the opportunity to confine Gypsy to a wheelchair, claiming she could no longer walk. Gypsy, trusting implicitly in her mother's care, acquiesced to this new reality. Her compliance was a testament to the power of a mother's influence, even in the face of undeniable contradictions. And as if things couldn't deteriorate further, Gypsy was prescribed a feeding tube, an invasive measure that granted Dee Dee unprecedented control over her daughter's body. But it wasn't just nourishment that flowed through the feeding tube. It became a conduit for Dee Dee's manipulation. Medications administered through this route exacerbated Gypsy's supposed health issues, creating a cycle of dependence and deterioration. Acid reflux became a severe concern, necessitating surgical intervention, a consequence of Dee Dee's relentless pursuit of control. The Blanchard household became a pharmacy, its shelves stocked with a plethora of medications. Yet amidst the chaos and confusion, Gypsy's love for her mother remained steadfast. Raised in an environment where questioning Dee Dee's authority was unthinkable, Gypsy never doubted her mother's intentions, no matter the discrepancies. While Gypsy's father, Ron, remained on the periphery, kept in the dark about the true extent of his daughter's condition. Denied access to Gypsy by Dee Dee, Ron and his wife, Christy, fought tirelessly for a relationship with their daughter. But Dee Dee's manipulative tactics kept them at bay, painting a portrait of a mother's unwavering devotion to her sick child. Behind closed doors, however, Dee Dee's facade crumbled, revealing a darker reality. Her protectiveness morphed into cruelty as Gypsy endured physical abuse and manipulation. Withheld from school and fed a steady diet of misinformation, Gypsy was isolated from the world, her reality dictated by Dee Dee's whims. In public, Dee Dee was hailed a hero, a mother willing to do anything for her daughter's survival. But in private, she was a tyrant, wielding her authority with a cruelty that knew no bounds. And as the facade began to unravel, the true horror of Gypsy's existence came to light, exposing the depths of a mother's deception and the resilience of a daughter's love. The torment endured by Gypsy Blanchard was a testament to her mother's twisted lesson: mother knows best. In a chilling parallel to Disney's Tangled, where Rapunzel is held captive by a deceitful figure posing as her mother, Gypsy found herself ensnared in a web of lies spun by Dee Dee. To the outside world, Dee Dee appeared as a devoted mother, but behind closed doors, she subjected Gypsy to unspeakable abuse. In the privacy of their home, Dee Dee's cruelty knew no bounds. Gypsy recounted harrowing experiences of being brought into the bathroom, where Dee Dee would watch as she was subjected to physical abuse, slapped and struck on her face and back. Each blow reinforced Dee Dee's mantra, ingrained in Gypsy's psyche: mother knows best. As Gypsy's suffering continued, she found solace in the fantasy world of Disney's Tangled. Her mother dressed her in pretty dresses, adorned her with wigs and makeup, blurring the lines between reality and fiction. Gypsy, longing to break free from her tower of captivity, identified deeply with Rapunzel's desire for freedom. But as Gypsy began to question her mother's narrative, a hurricane named Katrina ravaged their lives, offering a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos. The storm provided Gypsy with an opportunity to challenge her mother's authority, but Dee Dee seized upon the tragedy to reinforce her control over her daughter's life. Dee Dee's manipulation extended beyond the confines of their home, as she portrayed Gypsy as a severely disabled girl to the outside world. Charities and media outlets were captivated by their story, showering them with attention and praise. Yet, behind the facade of a doting mother, Dee Dee based in the spotlight, soaking up the admiration while Gypsy suffered in silence. Despite Gypsy's growing realization that something was amiss, she remained ensnared in her mother's web of deception. With no health records to challenge Dee Dee's claims, Gypsy found herself increasingly isolated, her only reality shaped by her mother's words. But even as Gypsy's world seemed bleak, a glimmer of hope flickered within her. Inspired by Rapunzel's bravery in Tangled, Gypsy began to entertain thoughts of escape. Yet little did she know that her journey to freedom would lead her down a path far darker than she could ever imagine. Gypsy Blanchard's desperate bid for freedom takes a dark turn reminiscent of a twisted fairy tale. Convinced she's found her real-life Prince Charming in Nick Godijon, Gypsy orchestrates a plan straight out of Tangled. Just like Rapunzel, she dreams of breaking free from her tower of captivity, her overbearing mother Dee Dee standing in the way of her happiness. When Gypsy and Dee Dee attend a local sci-fi convention, Gypsy seizes the opportunity to escape her mother's watchful eye. She strikes up a conversation with an older man she's seen at previous events, hoping for a chance at a different life. But Dee Dee's fury is unleashed when she discovers Gypsy's attempt to flee. In a desperate bid to gain her mother's approval, Gypsy concocts a plan to introduce Dee Dee to Nick in person, hoping she'll see what a great guy he is and approve of their relationship. But Dee Dee's reaction is far from what Gypsy had hoped for. Enraged by her daughter's defiance, Dee Dee lashes out, chaining Gypsy to her bed and threatening her with violence. Undeterred, Gypsy remains determined to escape her mother's clutches. With Nick's support, she plans Dee Dee's demise, believing it's the only way to finally break free from her mother's control. But little does she know, their plan will lead them down a path of tragedy and betrayal, far darker than any fairy tale ending. Gypsy's desire for a life with Nick consumes her, driving them to enact their long-anticipated plan to escape her mother's control. Despite the gravity of their intentions, they spend a seemingly ordinary night together, painting nails and watching TV, trying to mask the looming darkness with fleeting moments of normalcy. In Gypsy's mind, breaking free from her mother's grasp is akin to escaping a tower with no visible exit. As the night unfolds, Gypsy and Nick's plan reaches its climax when he arrives after her mother falls asleep. In a surreal turn of events, Gypsy finds herself in a situation she never imagined, caught between her loyalty to her mother and her longing for freedom. As Nick carries out the fatal act, Gypsy grapples with conflicting emotions, feeling both relief and guilt at the prospect. As Nick carries out the fatal act, Gypsy grapples with conflicting emotions, feeling both relief and guilt at the prospect of finally breaking free. Yet amidst the chaos that follows, Gypsy's actions reveal the depth of her desperation to escape her mother's abuse. The shocking aftermath exposes the truth behind Gypsy's fabricated illnesses and her mother's manipulation, leading to a reckoning for both Gypsy and Nick. Gypsy's newfound freedom comes at a staggering cost, as she faces the consequences of her actions in trial that lays bare the extent of her mother's deceit. Ultimately, Gypsy's story serves as a haunting reminder of the complexities of abuse and the lengths one may go to in search of liberation. Nick is convicted of first-degree murder, and both he and Gypsy have been separated since their arrests. Unlike the fairy tale ending of Rapunzel, where she escapes Mother Gothel and finds happiness, Gypsy's reality is starkly different. She faces the next chapter of her life in an orange jumpsuit, far from any semblance of a happy ending. In the on-screen fairy tale, Rapunzel reunites with her biological parents. Similarly, in real life, Gypsy finds solace in the love and support of her family. Despite the hardships she has faced, her family remains steadfast in their love for her. Gypsy's father expresses unconditional love for her, emphasizing that their bond transcends any circumstances. He believes in her ability to find happiness and fulfillment, echoing the sentiments of many who advocate for her release. There is a growing movement advocating for Gypsy's early release and pardon. Having served her time, many believed it's time for her to return home to a loving family environment where she can rebuild her life with support and compassion. As Gypsy Blanchard steps out of prison on December 28, 2023, she begins a new chapter in her life, free from the confines of incarceration. Having served 85% of her 10-year sentence for her involvement in the plot to murder her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard, Gypsy is now ready to embrace the opportunities that lie ahead. While her former boyfriend Nicholas Gaudijon remains behind bars serving a life sentence for his role in Dee Dee's tragic death, Gypsy is determined to make the most of her newfound freedom. With a supportive network of family and advocates rallying behind her, she looks forward to rebuilding her life and pursuing her dreams. Despite the challenges she has faced and the hardships endured during her time in prison, Gypsy remains resilient. As she steps into the world beyond the prison walls, she carries with her the lessons learned and the determination to create a brighter future for herself. As Gypsy navigates the complexities of life outside of prison, she does so with a renewed sense of hope and optimism. With her past behind her and her eyes set on the horizon, she embarks on a journey of self-discovery, healing, and redemption. While the road ahead may be uncertain, one thing is clear: Gypsy Blanchard is ready to embrace the opportunities and challenges that lie ahead as she writes the next chapter of her life. If you enjoy this story, be sure to subscribe to Crime Scene Archives for more captivating true crime narratives. And while you're here, don't forget to check out our previous video about Robert Ben Rhodes, the truck stop killer. Unravel the chilling tale of how he lured unsuspecting hitchhikers into his truck, concealing a sinister agenda beneath his facade of a harmless old man. Stay tuned for more gripping accounts of real-life mysteries and criminal investigations.